Cricut Orientation Part 2 at the Lincoln Public Library. So what is Design Space? Cricut Design Space is the web-based program that lets you browse pages and pages of pre-designed projects as well as design your own projects on your desktop, laptop, tablet, and phone. Cricut Design Space also lets you upload your own JPEG, SVG image files as well as your own fonts. What is a JPEG? The JPEG or JPG file format is a very popular image file format because it uses a lot less hard drive space than other formats, but it does have its limitations. The JPEG format compresses the picture every time it is saved, and that means the file size and picture quality are reduced every time it is saved. There is nothing that you can do to stop picture compression in the JPEG or JPEG format. Example of a JPEG. Well, what is an SVG file? SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic, but really all this means is that it's a vector image. You can think of a vector image as sort of like a silhouette. The nice thing about vector images is that they can be resized to any dimension without losing their resolution. SVG files are the easiest image types to upload into Cricut Design Space because the software already knows how to interpret the file type and can process it correctly. This is an example of an SVG. Well, what is a font? A font is a collection of characters with similar design. These characters include lowercase and uppercase letters, numbers, punctuation marks, and symbols. Changing the font can alter the look and feel of a block of text. Some fonts are designed to be simple and easy to read, while others are designed to add a unique style to the text. For example, Arial has a simple modern look, while Plantino has an older, more traditional appearance. Fonts are automatically included in your operating system, and these are free to use when you're creating your projects. These are some examples of fonts. So we're going to look at Design Space. To access the canvas from the home page, you left-click on the New Project in the top-hand corner, or you can left-click New Project in the middle of your home. Or you can left-click the top 3 lines in the left-hand corner to access the menu, then left-click on Canvas. So there are 3 ways from the home page to access the Design Space canvas, which we learned in the last video. We are now going to look at Cricut Design Space. I'm going to double-click on the icon on the desktop, just maximize the window, sign in, enter in your Cricut ID, uncheck Remember Me because at the library you're using a public computer. Left click sign in. And here we are to the home page. Again, with the home page, the first one is a banner with everything that's happening. Usually they are letting you know about new materials and whatnot that you can purchase. The next banner or next row is the projects that you have created. Then everything underneath is, again, the Cricut Access. This is paid for subscription. And underneath, again, these are all paid for by subscription. There are a few ways, actually only 3 ways to access the canvas. The canvas is basically your work area. So you can go to New Project here. You can go to New Project here. And then you can also use the menu on the left-hand side. And they all take you to the canvas. You can tell where you are because it tells you the header up here. This is right now untitled because we haven't worked or saved anything. It tells you it's canvas. Again, you have that same menu when you click on it. There's the same information. My Projects will take you to the projects that you have created. Explore lets you know that you're with the Cricut Explore family because we're using the Cricut Air 2. And this is the Make It button. You use this once you have created your design. We're going to focus on the menu on the left-hand side underneath the 3 lines. So new, when you click on new, you won't see too much. It will take you to a new page or a new workspace. Templates, once you click on templates, it takes you to, if you're trying to create an apron or shorts, you can use these templates. But again, if you go to make it, it will ask you for your credit card. The next one is projects. These are pre-designed projects put out by Cricut. You can use these if you have Cricut access. The next one is images. Same thing with images. Most of these are paid for through your Cricut Access subscription. You can type in free images, but again, a lot of times when you do click on free, so for example, mom, you click on mom, insert image, and if you go to make it, it will sort it on the mat, and it'll tell you to check out. And this is where it will ask you for your billing information. So it may say free, but always make sure if you don't have a subscription, just to see if it takes you to a checkout. We're going to go back to our canvas. So that is, we've been through templates, projects, images, text. So just going to move that over here. Text, again, is your fonts that we talked about earlier. So for example, as soon as you click on text, you get your text box here, and then you get font comes up, style, size, etc. Once you click on that, you will see all the different fonts. All will give you both the free and ones that you can get through your Cricut Access, so paid. System lists all the fonts that are free with your Windows operating system that we're using here. You can also download free fonts from sites such as DiffFont. And we have a video coming up of reputable sites where you can download fonts. Cricut will only give you the Cricut fonts, and again, these do come with a fee, but they're free with a Cricut Access, and you can pay a subscription of anywhere from $10 and up per month. Search fonts, if you know you're looking for a specific font, you can type it in. So that's fonts in a nutshell. Shapes. Let me just close the text. Shapes. You are definitely going to be using shapes, especially if you are making stencils, paintable stencils. You'll be using the square a lot. We talked about upload. Upload is where you can upload an image. You can upload a JPEG or an SVG, and this is where you would do it. So sometimes you do have to look for images. That's where you would go to Google, and you can type in free SVG images. And then, like anything else with these type of images, you have to make sure that's a reputable site because you are downloading, and when you download, you are at risk for viruses. But there are free, reputable sites out there. Again, sometimes you just have to be aware of copyright. A lot of them are for personal use only. And we'll just go back to our canvas. So that's basically the left-hand side menu. I'm just going to delete this. Now we're going to look at the layers panel. So right now we don't have anything here, but you'll see layers, you'll see group, ungroup, duplicate, delete. Down here at the bottom, you'll see what is called the slice tool, the weld tool, attach tool. And these are the most common ones. Flatten is used mainly when you have your Cricut hooked up to a printer. So that is when you want to print out and cut. But a lot of times for most of the projects, you'll be using these 3 tools right here. So that's basically the canvas in a nutshell. We're going to look at the group and ungroup, the slice and weld and attach, and flatten in a little more detail in just a few moments. We are now going to look at the layers panel. And one of the options is group. Well, what is group? Group is like putting individual things in a plastic bag. So for example, just say you have a happy face, but you just have a round yellow circle, two black circles, and a red mouth. Well, you're not sticking these together. You're putting them in the bag, but they can all move around as, as one item. But the things in the bag don't fuse together to actually make one item. So you can actually open the bag and take out individual pieces. So they're together, but they're not stuck together. Group is great when you're needing to keep a multi-layer or multicolor project together on your canvas. But once you send it to the mat preview, they will be separated into different mats. So I'm going to show you this example using Design Space. So with the canvas, we're going to focus on the layer panel and the group and ungroup buttons. To demonstrate this, we're going to go to text. I'm going to go up here to font. And what I'm going to click on is the system fonts because I'm using a free font and I want a script one. So I'm going to use this one, CH. I think it's YG, yes. And I'm just going to type out the word happy. And I'm going to pull it out to make it a little bigger. So this is all, as you can see, it is grouped together because this is grayed out. And if I go to make it, it appears on my mat all together. It's just grouped. It is not attached. So it will print out each individual letter. I'm going to cancel. As soon as I select everything again and I choose ungroup, you will notice that the panel has changed and they're considered each individual letter because they are no longer grouped together. It's like taking it out of that plastic bag and just having all these letters everywhere. So if I were to click on make it, there they are, they're all mixed up on the mat. So that's what group and ungroup is all about. Now we're going to explain group and ungroup from a SVG file that I've uploaded. So I'm just going to left click on upload and it's this Harry Potter saying, and I'm going to insert the image. Right now, you'll see this image is grouped together. I can move it around. So I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select it and I'm going to ungroup. So I can now move each item individually. So that is group and ungroup. And you might be wondering, why would you want to ungroup this? Well, if you were to make it, what would happen is everything would print individually. Not exactly what you want to do. So sometimes when you ungroup, you can use the other tools like attach, which we're going to look at in one moment. So right now we're going to select it again and we're going to group it so I can move it as one, ungroup, unselect, ungroup. Now you can move each individual piece. So if you wanted to move this over here. So that is group and ungroup. What is attach? Attach is much like a paper clip. You can paper clip papers together, but once you take the paper clip off, you can separate them. Attach like group will keep your project together on the canvas. However, unlike group, when you send it to the mat, it will keep its formatting and stay as one group. So for example, the plastic bag with the yellow circle for the happy face, the 2 black circles for the eyes, and the red mouth. When you put it in the bag, they're grouped together. But once you put a paper clip on the 2 black circles for the eyes and the mouth, they stay together as one group. They're still in the bag. You can still move it around the bag, but they move together as one. Attach is perfect for when you want to use the writing function. You can attach your words to certain parts of the project, and that's where it will write. Another nice thing about attach is the fact that you can detach things if you want to make changes to your project. Now we're going to look at attach in Design Space. Here is our word, happy. Right now it is grouped together because we can move it around. But it is not attached. You can see there's spaces in between. So if you were to print this out and you wanted it as one word together, if you go to make it right now, it will just cut the H, the A, the P, PY separately. How do you put these together? Well, this is where you would use the attach tool. So this is the paper clip down here of your layers panel. And you can also use line spacing as well if you click here. And you can change that as well. But for this demonstration, we're just going to ungroup. So we're going to select everything. And we're going to use the ungroup. So I'm going to select here and ungroup. So that means when you ungroup, you can move each individual letter. So I'm going to put it so it touches each one. So it's going to be nice and close. So if I were to print this out, it would print it out as one entire word instead of each individual. So right now they're all touching. I select happy and I'm going to, you'll notice the attach is no longer grayed out. As soon as I click attach, they are attached. And if I go to make it, you'll see on my mat, they're all together. So that is the attach button. You'll notice as soon as I click on it, because it's attached, you'll see it's turned from attached to detached. So if I click detach, select, and detach, I can now move these letters. And this is good if you're wanting to change your image. You can always detach or attach. When you're using the Cricut, you normally have a project in mind. And for this particular SVG file, I am planning to put this image onto a wine glass. I don't want to have to put each individual letter on the wine glass and try and line that up. That would be really hard because if I were to make it just as it is right now, you'll see how it looks like on the mat. It looks pretty much impossible to put on a wine glass. So I'm going to click cancel. So what we want to do is we want to work with this. So I'm going to click ungroup. And the reason why we looked at ungroup before is so we can attach and move each individual letter. So right now I am under ungroup. And you can see I can move each individual letter. But what I want to do is actually attach letters. So when I go to print this out, it prints out as one single word. And instead of the footprints, they come out together. So how do I do this? Well, this is when we're going to use the handy dandy attach button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over the letters, and it can be a little tricky. And that's the thing when you're using the Cricut. Sometimes it takes a little time and some readjusting. I want to make sure it's going to touch. I'm just going to bring that Y over. So right now everything is touching. And I'm going to move, once I've done this, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to, well, before I do that, I'm just going to move this up. So again, a lot of it is playing around with it. And I'm going to attach these letters together. And we want to have at least, so it's not overlapping there. And you'll see that's together. So you know it may look a little, so I'll just move this up here and put the I am. And it's just playing around with it. So I want to make sure, like when I go here, I'm going to attach. So now that is all together and it's attached, except for that footprint there. I'm going to move the up so it touches there. Move this over so it touches. Then I move the 2 up so it's attached to there. And move the 2 over. So I'm trying to do this so when it prints, it's going to print out all together. And I'm just going to move this up here. And I'm going to attach. So now this part is together. And you'll notice the no good is not together. So I'm going to push those, and actually this one's pretty good. And I'm going to attach. So that's all together. And then I'm going to select the whole quote and attach. So you will see now I can move it. It's like group, but instead of all in that bag, it's all paper clipped together nice and neat. So when I go to make it, there it is. My quote is together. And I'm back to the design canvas. What is weld? Weld is like glue. When you glue one item to another, they fuse together to make one item. So like that happy face, you have your yellow circle, then you glue on the 2 black circles for the eyes, and then you glue on the red mouth. It's not coming apart. Unlike with attach, with the paper clips, you can take it apart. But once you glue it on, it's on. Weld is also used to eliminate cut lines between images or letters you want to use to weld. It makes it look a lot cleaner and neater. You don't see the same cut marks as you do with attach. Like attach, weld keeps your project together on the canvas, and when you send it to the mat to cut. Unlike attach, there is no unweld button. Weld is more permanent. And this comes into play after you save your project. So now I'm going to weld happy together. So first, I'm going to ungroup just so I can move the letters closer. Now I'm just going to use one of my grid lines just to make sure it stays pretty straight. So I'll just drag that over here and here. and then put the Y. So when I go to print it, it will print the word together only if I either attach or weld. Attach is like using the paper clip. That's what the image they use. So again, you can take it apart. Weld is like glue. It glues it together. So once it's glued, it's permanent. Attach is like using paper clips. What I'm going to do is I am going to glue all these letters together. So when I go to cut this on the Cricut, it will cut it out as one single word instead of individual letters. So I'm going to left click on weld. You'll see that this is the happy and this is the weld result here. And from here, left click on make it. It's on my mat. I can position on my mat and I'm ready to go. Now I am going to weld this Harry Potter quote. So from now on, there can be no changes. It will be permanent. So how do I do that? Is I select everything and you'll see that the weld button is highlighted here. So I'm going to click on it and it is now welded and it says weld result. So I'm pretty happy with this. So at this point, I'm going to left click on make it. Since I'm going to be putting this on wine glass, I'm going to use permanent vinyl. And from here, I will continue. And I will load it into my machine and I can choose vinyl. And from there, you'll see material set to vinyl. And this is when we cut. And then after cutting, we use a weeding tool to remove all the excess. In the layers panel, there's something called a slice tool. The slice tool splits two overlapping images or text into different parts. Slice creates new cut paths from two images, resulting in two or more completely new shapes. Each of the new shapes will show up in the layers panel as an individual layer that you can keep or discard. The slice tool is great in making reusable, paintable stencils. The next tool we're going to be using on the layers panel is the slice tool. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to use a text. So I'm going to text. Whenever you click T for text, you get your text box open here and you have now access to your font. So I'm going to click on font, left click on system. System again are all the free fonts. I'm just going to scroll down and I'm going to just choose this one right here, athletic. And just for this example, I'm just going to type out the letter T. And I'm going to make it a little bigger. There we go. And next I'm going to pull out a shape. I'm going to pull out the square. And I'm just going to pull that here. I'm going to put it behind. And I'm going to put the square on top of the T and move backwards. I'm going to select everything here. And I'm going to align the T so it is centered in my square. And now that everything is still selected, you'll notice that the slice tool is no longer grayed out. So that means we can left click on slice. And what you do from here is you can drag out one T. And like earlier in the example, you'll see it in your layers panel. You'll see cut, cut, and cut. To make a stencil, I actually want the one with the square, so I can actually paint on a piece of wood with that T. So what you do with the other T's, if you don't want them, you can select it, left click delete, or you can use your right click and you can left click delete. And from here, I would click make it. What is flatten? Flatten is used with the print then cut feature. This can only be used if your Cricut is hooked up to a printer, or you won't be able to use flatten. What it does, it takes a multi-layer project and squishes it down to one layer to be printed on your printer and then cut on the Cricut machine. So for example, the smiley face that we've been talking about, it's basically having the yellow circle, the two black circles for the eyes and the mouth. You put it all together as one when you print it out, so it comes out as a complete happy face. Just like a drawing, you draw the yellow and you put the two eyes in the mouth. So when you flatten a multi-layer project is if you have, for example, a palm tree with a sun behind it and a river. So basically it's like putting them all together on one sheet. So you just get that one picture. Think of an art project. You're drawing the sun, the palm tree, and the river, and it's all together. If you're doing that with vinyl, it's called layering because you actually have to cut out or green for palm trees, yellow for the sun, and blue for the river. And it's done all three and you put them all together. You can also tell if an image is flattened by looking at the layers panel. Now we're going to look at flatten. First of all, we're going to create a face. So I'm going to make the circle, I'm going to change the color to yellow. Put that over there, pull up my shapes again, load another circle. I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to right click, you'll see there's duplicate here, and duplicate over on your layers panel does exactly the same thing. I'm going to left click on duplicate. Now I'm going to pull out a line, so we go back to shapes, go to score line. I'm going to change it this way, pull it down a little smaller. I'm going to go to where it says line type, it's score. We're going to go to draw. And we're going to make red. So I'm just going to arrange this on my face. So I'm just going to just attach them for now so I can move them over. And now I'm going to detach and ungroup. Looks like when you do that, it flattens it all together. We're just going to change back the color to black. And there we go. So now I'm going to select everything and I'm going to use the flatten. And there we go. We have the cut and print. And if I go to make it, as you can see now, it's flat. It looks like a little cartoon character. And we're going to click make it. And it looks different on the mat here because it says print and cut. And then from here you would send it to your printer. And that is flatten. The last tool in Design Space is contour. We're going to look at what contour is and why it doesn't always work first. Contour only works with SVG files or scalable vector graphic files. You can't contour plain text. Contour only works with one layer at a time. So if you have more than one layer, select the select one layer selected, the tool won't activate. If you need these two layers together, you will need to weld them first. So contour is a fancy way to like erase items out of an image. So for example, just say you have a picture of an owl and it has feathers. It's just like erasing those feathers, so you just have the outline of the owl. The last tool in Design Space is the Contour button, which is located in the bottom right-hand corner of Design Space Canvas. It only works as SVG files, and it's more like an erase button. So from here, we're going to upload an image. I'm going to choose the one with the palm trees, and I'm going to left-click Insert Image. And basically what Contour does is you can ungroup. You can select, for example, just say I want this portion here gone. I would just click Contour, click on that, and close. And you'll see that portion is gone. So Contour is great with SVG images, and it works as an erase button. The last part of the Design Space Canvas is the Color Sync panel. Design Space has a Color Sync panel to help you match colors or consolidate colors of a project in order to reduce the number of different materials you plan to use. Just because cardstock, vinyl, iron-on, vinyl, all the materials can be quite expensive. So you can sync layers. You can sync layers colors by dragging an image layer in the color sync panel and dropping it into another layer whose color you want to match, so it saves on waste. This is a multi-layer SVG file. So to see what the color sync button looks like, you'll see right now we're in layers because this is underlined. Once I left click on color sync, it will say this panel allows you to sync colors to use fewer materials. To change colors, drag and drop an object onto the layer of your desired color. So this will help you save on some of your materials. Just to recap the parts of the Design Space Canvas, at the very top here, this is called your header or your title. It tells you that you're at the canvas. You will always see these three lines. This means there is the menu. Once you left click on it, you have all these other options. You can go back home or you can go back to the canvas. Over here is a list of your saved projects. So if you click on My Projects, these are the projects that I have created. To go back here, once you have created something, always left click on the Save button. Explore is how you hook up your Cricut machine. We are the Cricut Explore family at the library. Make It is always located at the top right-hand corner. Underneath the Make It, you have your layers and your color sync. With your layers, you have your group and ungroup. Think of group again as a happy face, so your yellow circle and two black circles for eyes and a line for the mouth. Think of that in a plastic bag. They're grouped together. Ungroup is like taking those pieces out of the bag. At the bottom here, you see the word attach. Attach is like putting those two eyes on the big yellow circle with paper clips and paper clipping the mouth and putting it in the bag. So that is attach. Weld is removing the paper clips and gluing on the two eyes and mouth to the big yellow circle. Slice. Slice is used when you want to make stencils or you want to take something out. So we made a letter T stencil by using text, choosing a font, putting a square on top of it, and then slicing out the letter T. Flatten. We used flatten to create a face. What we did is we put it all on top of one another, left click flatten, and this is what you would use your printer with. So it's a printer and Cricut for flatten. Contour is only used with SVG files, and it's like an eraser. Over on the left-hand side, you do have a menu. New will always bring you up a new canvas. Templates are predetermined that come with the Cricut Design Space, and there usually is a fee through Cricut Access, which you can purchase a subscription. Projects are predetermined projects that you can purchase with your Cricut Access. Images, you can find images, some of them if you go under free, you can find some free images. Text is the font that we talked about earlier. You can choose different fonts to create different signs. Shapes, we use the square to create the stencil. Upload, this is where you can upload your JPEGs and your SVG files. So all together, all these pieces, including ColorSync allows you to save on your materials. All of these parts of the screen make up your Design Space canvas. Getting to know the Cricut. The best way to get to know the Cricut is to create a project. For this beginner Cricut series or session, there are 3 projects that we've created videos for that use Design Space Canvas: a vertical thank you fence board sign, a wooden hope sign, and the year to remember not wine glass 2020.